Hey guys, so I am super duper excited for this tutorial. We are going to pour some resin, but before we do that, we've got a little prep work to do. These are brand new molds, so there's no need to clean them up of any sort. Basically, they are ready to be poured into, except I want to do a little prep work on a couple of various things. So, just to explain what we're going to be doing. We have this mold, never ever used it. Like I said, they're brand new. These are little chickens. I can't wait to pour those in. These are little miniature hippos. I'm so excited for that because my sister loves hippos and we love chickens, so that's a little fun little thing. And then these are like textured and you can make keychains out of them. They look fun. And then these are like worry stones, so you know, you'd rub here and have a worry stone. So I'm excited for those. The only thing I really want to prep on is this mold, the texture. I want to do a few with rubbing the mica into them or painting the mica into them prior to us pouring resin into them. So we're going to do that really quick. I was so darn excited. I pulled everything together except some little foam brushes. So, this is a thermo splash. I'm going to do one of these hearts more purple and one more pinks and reds probably. And then we might do one kind of more blue. We'll see. So, I'm going to start with this is just like a foam makeup brush. And this is by Counterculture DIY. I'm going to mainly just do kind of the edging, and then I'm going to do this other one in the center. And we're going to see how it turns out. Like, never use this mold, so it's going to be fun. You get to kind of experiment. This purple is darker than that one, so I'm not really worried about if I cross those over because it's gonna be just so minor that I'm dipping in. This one's definitely very deep of a purple. And I'm probably just gonna kind of like I'm blending into it, and the resin's gonna pick that up. It's gonna be fun. Gonna be fun. Okay, let's grab a different brush to do Ring of Fire. Woo! This one is something else of a red. I do like this. This has like a little orangey take to it. And then the other one we're going to do is Cherry Bomb. It is probably my favorite red. These are both by Counterculture DIY. This is a chameleon one, so it's going to kind of have some iridescent changing. This one is just stunning. Like I said, probably one of my all-time favorite micas, color-wise, everything. This is one I just think is literally the bomb, and it's called Cherry Bomb. I haven't looked recently if they still have. I would hope so, because this one's really good. I did stock up on it one year when they were having they were like trying to clear some inventory in the warehouse. Look at that. Look how pretty. Okay. Oops. Well, that one got splattered with some of the red, so we'll see how that one turns out. It'll be fine. We're gonna mix some. Let's do this stone as blue patterned in, and then the rest, the other two, that one of course got splattered a little bit in, but we're gonna mix our micas before, that way we can give a little comparison. If you're doing this with multiple colors, I would suggest maybe not doing what I was first doing, which was, you know, coming across a mold that I have a different color in, just because you don't want the risk of dropping blue with your red, unless that's the look you're going for. And I'm just trying to poke kind of through the crevices, depending on what look I'm wanting, if I want a full coverage or not a full coverage. Just kind of doing a mixture there. Okay. I'm so excited. All right, I'm going to put these off to the side because we have got to do some other prepping before we mix our resin. Okay. So the first thing I need to open, this is a paper cutter. I got this, oh goodness, I covered myself in grease. I'm gonna be a smurf. I got this off of Amazon haul. It was like $3. But, and I have another paper cutter, but honestly speaking, I don't know where that paper cutter is. And I briefly kind of looked, and then I couldn't find it, so I was like, you know what, we're just going to go with what I have handy, and then we'll deal with it. So, okay. So it's not quite as fancy as my others, because it's all in one kind of thing, but that's okay. So, one of the hippos, I had this thought on my way home, really been kind of just going through a lot, and I miss my mom, and I was like, you know, I think I'm going to stick a crane in one of the hippo ones, and I need a really tiny micro crane to do that. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to definitely do that as like a honor to her, you know, the origami cranes. If you haven't seen or watched, I would definitely suggest going through my YouTube, find one of the tutorials where I honor her and make cranes. There should be 2 of them in there. So for this, I know that this size works pretty well, but I couldn't remember. So it's 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch. So let's see if I line this up. Can I line up a line at 1.5? Okay, so that's you might do it like this so that I can see it. So my husband actually picked this paper up at in Japan, and I thought that was kind of special as well, so just thought I do like this one. My mom loved red, so that might be the one I use, but I'm going to make 3 different kinds just so that I have, and then I can decide, you know, from there ultimately what I want to do. Let me make sure that this is 1.5. Yep. Okay. Pretty good. Pretty close. Maybe close enough. I'll be able to make it work. I've made enough cranes. I can make it work. And this has like a magnifying kind of thing in it, and I'm struggling with like figuring that out and lining it up. And it doesn't have the same measurements down here, so I probably should have did one of my other ones, but that's okay. Oh, I gotta get the blade. I was like, I'm not cutting that paper, I can tell. Yeah, that one might not turn out as pretty just because it's going to be so small. Let's try to do this corner. On this one. This is going to be so teeny tiny. That's the hard part sometimes with cranes, is like if you find a paper you really like, finding, these are 6x6. And I can fold it, absolutely fold a 6x6. That's how I learned. However, I do a lot better with a fold of 3x3 or to as small as 1.5. I think is the smallest I've probably done. Maybe I've done a little smaller, I don't know. But yeah. I folded a mini of cranes through my years. So, okay. Perfect. Not ideal that this is in 3 different pieces, but you know what? Like I said, I paid like $2-3, so. Alright, I think for this part I am going to zoom in so that y'all can see what I'm doing. I'll try to center again. I know you're wobbling because a bunch of... Okay. So, if you haven't watched the origami crane folding, I definitely want to start by learning how to fold a crane this small. But, if you want to learn how to fold a crane, watch those, because I'm not going to go through all the steps here on it. I learned from watching a YouTube channel. That's how I learned when we decided to do cranes. So, definitely check out one or both of my episodes on that. But basically, we're going to get this baby folded. It is pretty intricate because it is so small, which is why I zoomed in for y'all. Just so you can see what I'm sort of doing. I know this isn't fully resin related, but it's gonna be because it's gonna go in some resin. I'm just, you tell. I'm so excited. This is like the highlight of my week. This is the highlight of the last few weeks. I've been definitely, like I say, going through a few things on my end, and just say, you know, life. L-I-F-E, 4-letter word, life kind of situation. And so getting into the craft space and having a mental break from the rest of the world and life is much needed. Plus I'm excited because I make these hippos, and if they come out great, I make some chickens. If they come out great, I get to see my sister and my niece and my dad and my brother-in-law next week. I'm so excited. By the time this airs by the time it airs out, by the time this drops on my YouTube and airs, I will be already home, but I can't wait to see them. Okay, so with a crane, you can do one of two things. You can leave the point very pointy, or we can poof up our point. I'm looking at the size of this, and I am thinking it's going to be a little too big for these hippos. Make his little head. I was thinking that these were smaller, and I was like, oh, look at this. We could just shove a crane in here. Not gonna work. So not gonna work. So there's that fun. But I have this cute, it's supposed to be made into a wine bottle stopper, but we might submerge her in here. We just have to get a clear string to hang her from so that she can hang down in there and have clear string. However, it's not going to be the easiest to get to, but my daughter has some. It's white, but I think it will be fine. Look at this, a little stretchy piece. So I'm going to stick that up there so I can keep track of that. Alright, I am going to try to cut this even smaller and see if I can make a crane out of it. There's no guarantee here, but you know what? Can't say that we didn't try, right? I folded this in fourths, basically. Okay? Folded it in fourths and gonna cut it. It's gonna be so tiny, but I like the lines on this. They're really sweet. Like if you look at the bigger piece of the paper that created that, it's definitely is a flower, but for this it's gonna be abstract. Okay, y'all see how tiny this is? I mean, look at that. Doesn't even go to the first bend of my finger. So let's see, we might have to pull out a few tools to get our creases where we need them, but for now we're gonna shoot for it. And I might not have cut that just perfectly in a square, but we're gonna continue to try this. Determined, y'all. I'm determined to pull this vision that I have together. Now we'll see if it works, but oh my goodness, this definitely is probably for sure the tiniest I have ever done. Okay. All right, this is called the water bomb. We made it this far. Let's see if we can create it to the crane. We might have to skip a fold, which is fine. It will still look like a crane, and you won't probably notice that I skipped a fold once it's in. It's hippo. Oh my goodness, my fingers are so big compared to this paper. I'm trying to get this folded to where it comes inside out of itself here. It's a little challenging, but one wing. We might just make it. Yeah, I definitely don't think we'll do the extra fold that normally you would do once you get these open, but that's okay. My sister was making them without that, and we were making them for my mom and stuff, and she was like, why do mine look so different than yours? And so then we sat there, we both had to slow down and actually fold them side by side, and she's like, oh my gracious, I've been missing that step. I don't do that extra fold. And so then she started it, but it was funny. So normally we would take this and fold it one more time over. The problem is this is so teeny tiny, I just don't think that we can really get that extra fold in there. So we're not gonna do that little fold. And like I said, I think it's gonna still look enough like a crane that, especially inside the resin, that you're not even gonna notice. I always choose whichever end didn't come out so nice and crisp to make our little head. Get our wings folded. The only thing when you do it like this, you really do gotta make sure you get your wings folded correctly. And I probably am not gonna poof its body because just how small it is. But now I do believe, okay, let's see if you're in, that will fit in this one. So yay. Okay, sweet, sweet. All right, so I am going to go ahead and put both of these up here. Actually, let's get this one prepped to have what we need for it, because I want to make sure that it's just ready to rumble. I don't know where that came from, y'all. Actually, it comes from wrestling, and that's what my husband's doing. That's what he does on Wednesday nights. He gets to watch his wrestling. He's like, it's wrestling night. I'm like, cool. Okay, so this is not actually a pin. This has a little needle in it, which my kids had messed with. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to use that little needle to poke a little hole in here so that I can thread our string into it. And I'm hoping Like, it's not, the little crane is so light. I'm hoping that I can just take this and shove enough of it down inside the body of the crane. That we don't need to thread it all the way through, but let's do this. Get a big enough hole going. This is where I need about 10 hands, y'all. Can all of you come and be my extra hands? Okay, here we go. This is what I wanted to do. I don't want this little tail end hanging out, so I'm just going to keep going in as long as it will go in. And then, essentially, it's just going to float. We'll tie it off, but once we get it in here, we'll kind of do this, pop it in, and then it's gonna, we'll suspend it once we get it in there. We'll suspend it, and it should stay where we want it to. I don't want you in there just yet. Thank you. Okay. Cranes are prepped. Eek. Eek, eek. It is time to prep our resin. Resin, resin, resin. That's not, I'm going to use that because I just dropped it. I don't want to lose that. That is a handy thing when we're doing other stuff. Okay. Let me just take a peek, make sure that we are still recording because we know we've had some issues with that, and now I'm paranoid, so you know. I wasn't going to pour a ton, and we're not going to pour a ton. I'm not going to pull the mixer out. We're just going to hand mix this because guess what? We're not going to pour a whole ton, but we are doing several things, so I want to make sure that I have enough. And then if I have to, we'll find a mold to dump any extra in to start a dump one and potentially fill our dump mold because sometimes that happens. So we'll figure that out when we get there. Alright, gloves on. I couldn't do all that I just did with gloves, so you notice that I didn't have them on. That's why. Oh, we need to zoom y'all out. Sorry. That's why I don't normally mess with the zooming in and out when we're recording, but you know, certain times call for certain things. Alright. 2 silicone cups. This table is not sitting flat. I can feel it. Don't mind the red. It's just the paint that I had used on the other side. I think it's this guy back here. Oh yeah, now we're good. It was wobbling. We were doing a little weeble wobble. See, I painted something with red when we did our love, Valentine's love. That's why. I need to clean that because it is sending red particles everywhere. So check my cups, nothing in there. Actually, I probably only need 1 cup because I could technically, as long as I pour carefully, I can technically do it in 1. So I am going to do I am going to shoot for 35 of each is what I'm going to do. We have Artist Resin, Thin Viscosity. I'm trying to use this one up just because it has the yellowing bottle. It's still got good shelf life, but I am trying to get through this one a little bit. So, that's why. I always do B first. Yes, my B is yellowing, but it is not the end of the world. It is going to be just fine. If you don't trust yourself on your pouring to get an even amount, don't do as what I'm doing. If you can't trust yourself, pour into 2 different cups and then combine. But make sure you scrape your cups really well. upon combining, because you want to make sure that you get a really decent pour. Okay, so we're almost at 40. So I'm going to just, I could dump a little bit out to bring us down to 35, but I'm closer to 40 than I am 35. And that was not related to my age, but it is true. I'm closer to 40 than I am 35. So, because guess what? I am 40, so, you know, spot on. Let's see, this has some gunk in it. Okay, so then A is going to come out a lot thicker. I'm going to have to make sure I stop a little bit under 80 to let it settle. And again, that's why if you're not comfortable doing this, if I happenstance went over 80, I can always add a little bit more B. But I try to get it as spot on as I can. And that's looking like right at it. So, when it settles, it's probably going to come up just a smidge from that point, but I think it will be perfect. A little tip, because I have different viscosities of the same resin, so I put a little bit of tape on it, decorative tape, to signify which is which. Now, my gloves got a little goopy because my bottles are a little goopy. Nothing a little bit of rubbing alcohol can't handle. This is actually 99%. If you've watched previous pours, you know that this bottle is a Walmart brand because this spout is the way to have it. So, but it is Amazon rubbing alcohol in there. Okay, so that tool is a little gunky, so let's not use that one. Plastic stir stick, and essentially I'm going to look at our clock so that I kind of know what time it is, so that I can make sure that I stir this a good 3 minutes. Now, I am trying to keep the bottom of my plastic stir stick on the bottom of the cup, so not picking it up, and then I'm going around and around, and I'm also scraping my edges, some of the rounds that I'm going, and then also going in the middle, but the bottom of the stir stick is always on the bottom of the cup. That's the goal. Nice and slow. You don't want to be whipping this, you know, all crazy. Just round and round we go. Approximately 3 minutes is how I look at it, and then we let it rest for 5, typically, especially for a bloom. We're not doing blooms though, so really when we let it rest, we can let it rest a couple minutes probably, and then start distributing our colorants and distributing our resin for our colorants, essentially. So then I will go ahead and make sure that I get the sides of my stir stick wiped off, and then also take the sides and go all the way down till my stir stick is on the bottom. That way it's getting that mixed as well. You will learn when you are working with resin, there are a few key things, and if you do these key things, it works out. Measurements are key. Look at the recipe of your resin, determine if it's by weight, if it's a 2-to-1 ratio or a 1-to-1. Counterculture DIY artist resin is a 1-to-1 by volume, not by weight. Okay, so we did it by milliliters. We did 40 and 40. So that's one key, making sure your measurements are accurate, because you want to make sure that you're doing the correct combination to create the formula, like a chemist. Okay. Next thing is your stirring technique should be slow and steady. Wins the race. Be consistent. My right wrist doesn't always do the best because it gets tired and it's painful. So I will switch to my left wrist. That's fine. as long as you're just keeping your stir stick to the bottom. You can use a wooden stick, a popsicle stick. A lot of artists do that, especially when you're starting out. Here's a tip. Using a wooden stick adds bubbles. That wooden stick has air pockets and it will add bubbles to your resin. If you want to limit your resin bubbles, I suggest getting some plastic stir sticks. They are reusable. We're going to wipe this down clean. It will be reusable. I haven't had to buy extras, and I have a whole stash of them. If I had to, if one had to be thrown away, I've got plenty more. So, I think maybe I've thrown one away, and I've been doing this for several years now. Next thing is, when you lift your resin, it looks yellow still kind of in the cup. That's just because of B being yellow. But when I lift it out, it is very clear. There are no stringies. And if you've worked with resin, you'll see it. When you first do a quick stir of it, you'll see these wavy strings like cobweb in your resin. You don't want that. But when it comes out clear, that's when you know it is mixed and it is fully combined. You don't have any leftover part A or B not mixing with one another. So that is key. So I always do a lift up of my resin like this so that I can see it as it's pouring back in and make sure it's clear. Now, to get some of these bubbles that did form, we don't have a super ton, but to get some of them, we just beat our cup on the bottom of our table. That's going to help push those bubbles up. Next thing, heat gun. Now, I don't have a big construction heat gun in here. That's what I started with. It's fine, but it gets really hot. You can burn your resin. You can almost heat it up too quickly, too fast, and create an issue. I apologize. I got to get a drink, y'all. My peppers jumped on me last night. He was trying to out-jump his sister onto me and got me in the face and busted my lip, or scratched my lip, but it busted my lip. And it is so sore. So talking, I'm like, I gotta stay hydrated. So, you can get these on Amazon. This is a counterculture one though, because y'all know I love them. So I put it on low. I always go away from my resin in case there's any dust residue. And we're just going to pop those surface bubbles that are there. I like to go on the bottom just a smidge. Back on the top. Let this sit up. Okay? Let that rest for 3 or so minutes. And then we can... Normally, if I was doing a bloom, I would say definitely we should let it set for 5 minutes before we start messing with it. But because of what we're doing tonight, I'm not worried about that. Alright, so... got our molds here where y'all can see them. I'm so excited. See, there's some of that red paint that transferred up. Let's see. Well, let's see. I might have to zoom out just a smidge more. So sorry. There we go. Okay. I just want y'all to be able to see. So... my big goal I want to do is to get my, this will be last. That will be our last kind of goal of one. I'm going to get one of these. Yeah, that'll might cover it a little more than I want it to. Where's he at? This guy. That will be a good one. Okay, that will be what we wrap our string around. My goal is to get our hippos, our chickens, probably this, and then these, and then if we have extra resin, we'll go here, and then we'll continue on. I don't know. I didn't measure. I'm not one to always do that. I just you know, kind of a wing it girl. In that aspect. Let's see here. Thought about doing a little glitter maybe, but then again, I don't want to do so much glitter per se. But I think these would be fun. Yep. So I'm gonna mix. Oh, that's gold glitter. That's fine. No, it's not fine. Could y'all tell my voice? No, that's not what I wanted, so it's not fine. Let's get what I wanted. I was trying to convince myself, y'all, and it didn't work. It didn't last. Okay, so this is like that gold foil flex, so I'm going to mix a little bit in when I do a couple of these other pours, and maybe a couple of those. I really want a red chicken, and I don't know why I didn't grab any red alcohol ink, so I'm going to grab some of that. Now, the alcohol ink I'm not going to mix in my silicone cups because it dyes it. It's terrible. It dyes it. And it's not the end of the world, but it drives me crazy. So I'm going to put it in little paper cups. So I definitely want a red one. I'll probably mix in, like I'll pour the alcohol one and then I'll pour probably a mica one. These are all the same shape, so it's, you know, just kind of the fun of what I'm going to get. This one's going to get the crane. It probably will get some silver or gold little specks just in it. And then I might fill another one mixing some of these little beads in. And then have a couple color ones. Just, again, don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. But here I am, over freaking thinking it. Okay. So this is sat for definitely 3 minutes. Oh yeah. Okay. So we've got some bubbles that have come to the surface for us. So our heat gun is going to pop those. And that's perfect. I'm not overly worried because we are going to be taking care of them. I am going to spritz. Sure am. A little rubbing alcohol in these because they are so intricate little parts that I'm hoping that will help prevent some bubbles getting trapped. The rubbing alcohol is going to push those bubbles up. Okay, so I don't think it's going to take much red to fill a couple of these. So I'm going to just pour a smallish amount. I'm going to add the rubbing alcohol. I always do that. The alcohol ink to this. Probably just a couple little drops, like 5 or 6. You know, it's fine. That's fine. Ooh, that's strong. And mix that up. Yep, beautiful. And then I'm going to just pour it in a couple. Let's see. Nice and slow. I don't want to get too crazy with it. The slower you can go, the somewhat better, because that's going to allow those bubbles to rise to the surface. I know I didn't fill that one all the way, and that's fine. I didn't intend to. I intentionally left it. I see a bubble in this one specifically. I see a couple of them. They're pretty down there, so I'm going to use a silicone brush, a pointed silicone brush, to go in and try to bring that bubble all the way up to the surface. And I'm going to have to go this direction to bring it out of that. In the meantime, I am making a few more bubbles every time I go in. So we're going to hit that with a little heat here in a sec, just to pop those. Silicone brush is the way to go. I wouldn't put anything sharp. You're going to scratch your mold, and you don't want that. All right, let's add a little bit of cherry balm to this. So we're going to do a couple anyway in cherry balm. And I'm going to add a little cherry balm to the top of those, so it gives it kind of some definition. Now with micas, you are putting in a powder into the resin, so you do want to make sure that you mix that powder fully in and don't end up with a weird clump. I always say it's like baking. You know, you don't want to end up with a weird clump of mica. Now when you do mica, you're not going to be able to see if there's bubbles down in there. I just gotta hope that it came out good. Oh, I almost went over. I think it under is gonna be better. Taking the under instead of the overage. Ooh, those are pretty. That cherry balm is just something else. I'm telling you. It is the bomb diggity. Okay, so I'm going to put that off to the side. Look at how that dyed it. That's the rubbing, or not rubbing alcohol. That's the alcohol ink for sure. Okay, so I want a like berry one of these, and so I'm going to do, and I want a berry chicken, and I want a turquoise chicken. So I'm going to get 2 more paper cups for us to do that resin in. And that was a little star stick that I did for that. So that's what I use to mix our colors. These little guys. And you can see how they're stained. That's from mixing alcohol inks. Always shake your alcohol inks because it does like to settle at the bottom. Even if you've shook them before you sat down to pour, always shake them again because they're just gonna, that's just what they're gonna do. What they're gonna do. I like this. This is such a pretty color. And I'll show you what I'm going to do because I have a thought. Nice and slow. I kind of do what I did with the first red ones that I did the rubbing alcohol in, and then I'm going to mix a little purple in too. I'm going to put a little bit in here. This one I'm going to try to see what it comes out like. It's going to be kind of a multicolored one. Then I'm going to do, in my purple one, just a little bit of this pink, and then I'm going to add a little mica to it. That berry is stunning. Okay. I could get a little scoop, but you know, I would probably advise that so that you don't end up dumping your whole thing. I'm kind of testing fate a little bit here with these tonight. A little bit of what I'm doing. Like, oh, that's really pretty. I think that's gonna look so good. And you'll notice I'm working semi-quickly-ish, just because, you know, we do have limited amount of time, and when we're doing these small molds, It's very intricate. Oh, oh, oh. I cannot wait. I'm going to go ahead and just pour this in here. I know that's where it's going to go. I might use this cup again if I want to mix a little bit more purple up or something. But I'm just going to get what I can from here in. And we'll see what happens. Because this might end up being, I was thinking maybe a 2-parter, but it might end up being a 3-parter if we have to pour some more resin. We'll see. Well, we're definitely getting these 2 filled. Okay. Next, our turquoise. So, like I said, always shake them, because even if you shake them before you start pouring resin, it's going to settle still a little. It's not going to be much, but enough that you want it. This one I think I'm going to keep just straight that. I am going to add a little bit of glow-in-the-dark mica to it. This I am going to get a little spoon thing. So this is a counterculture. Whoa, there are hair on that. Okay, counterculture DIY. It's backwards. Counterculture DIY little tool. I'm going to use it to go in here and get some of this glow-in-the-dark lightning bug mica powder. I don't know how much it's going to need, so I'm going to put just a couple scoops in there. That I wasn't going to risk pouring. So it's supposed to be glow-in-the-dark. I've never ever used it, but I came across it as I was gathering supplies for this tutorial, and I was like, maybe I should try that. I noticed it was a little goopy, or a little clumpy. I tried to get just the powder, but I do see at least one. As I was telling you, don't let yourself end up with pockets of, you know, dry ingredient here. I definitely added more bubbles when I mixed that in. Oh, this is pretty. I think these are gonna look so good. I can't wait. I can't wait. Okay. This one I'm gonna do with some blue. I might just end up filling it all the way. Oh, oh, oh. The way it's filling, I'm like, oh. Okay. Then let's add this to this one. It's probably gonna not be glow in the dark just because of the blue mica. Oh, there was a chunk of mica. That's okay. But it's fine. It's fine. Okay, I am going to heat gun these because we do have some bubbles that have come to the surface, and I just want to go ahead and get them popped. So I am going to do a little. And I think these are starting to set up a little bit, because it's taking a little bit more to move that resin around, which tells me that it's starting to do what it needs to, which is fine. It's what we want it to do. But I want to get some of these bubbles out. Now there are a few micro bubbles in this guy especially, so I'm going to grab my little squirt bottle again and just spray him. It seems that I don't think that one needed it. Just needed that little extra spritz on the top. It can affect your curing, so don't go crazy when you're spritzing, okay? Definitely can affect that. Alright, so I am going to mix up just a little bit of clear in here with some gold foil. So we can pour into that one. And we might use it for our red crane as well. So foil flex, basically we're going to irritate it to where it breaks up into little pieces. So you see how it's getting broken up into smaller pieces, sort of. We're adding lots of air bubbles. Fantastically not cool. So I'm going to pour just a smidge of clear in. Whoop. Smidge of clear. I'm going to hit this with a little heat too, because we got a lot of bubbles that, yeah. I just wanted to get them kind of cleaned up. Now the gold should or will probably kind of sink, is my guess, because it's going to be heavier. But I'm hoping some of it stays near the top. But I don't know if it will. We'll just have to see what happens with it. Okay. Now, our little crane guy. Let's see what I need. I know I have what I need here. Okay. So I am going to use a rounded tip pair of tweezers because I do not want to accidentally scrape my mold with a sharp pair of tweezers. Okay. I am going to go ahead and coat him in a little bit of resin, him or her. I'd be like, how do you know it's a he? I'm like, okay, I get it, love. But I am going to coat it in some resin just to help with, you know, air pockets and so forth. And then I'm going to pour a little bit more clear into this mold, and then we're going to pop him in there. I don't want a sharp pair of tweezers because it could scratch our mold. And once it's scratched, there is no going back. Okay? Of course, you have to think about this a little bit when you're putting something in like this, and how it's going to sit in the resin, because of the way the mold is. So that's why I put them upside down, because these are the bottom of our hippos that we have at the surface towards us, or the bottom of them. And so we want to make sure that that crane was upside down. Now, one thing I noticed as I'm holding this cup of resin is that it is getting warm. Even through my glove, I am feeling the warmth. Not a bad thing. Just something to note, that it is starting to heat up a little bit, which means probably our work time is somewhat limited per se. That just created a ton of little bubbles. There's a little spray guy. There's a bunch of bubbles right there. I'm hoping that didn't drown him in the gold flecks. I'm going to bring a little bit of this resin that's clear over here. And add that gold fleck that I just had there. Just doing some exchanging. I'm not super worried about the overflow or the extra on top. If we ended up with too much on top here, it will clean up probably pretty easy, you know, this little extra that's sliding around. Okay. Yeah, we're getting sticky. That's the other thing I'm noticing. We are getting sticky. It's okay, just noticing. Again, that just means our work time is more limited So we gotta get cruising. I'm just trying to fill this guy up, but he takes a lot. He might not get done this time. That's okay. You know what? Oh no, I did it right, because this one I am doing opposite direction. Okay, I like had a moment of panic for a sec. Like, I strung our crane wrong, but I did not. Actually, I think she's gonna sit in just perfectly, and her string came out. So voila, she's sitting in there, and I'm just going to let that, I think, pretty much be. I'm gonna add a little bit more on her, but the more I add, the more she shifts, and I don't want that. So okay, folks, wait, that got boogie. Okay, can you come this way? Oh, can I might, because I'm not worried about the leveling part just yet. I'm more worried about her spacing, so I'm fine with this being like slanted right now at this stage. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna just slant her, and then we're gonna work on these bubbles that have arisen. Yeah, I see you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. These ones are not. You're fine. Which, truthfully, they're towards the bottom. They're probably going to just add to the look. And that's just fine. Okay, so let's mix up red for this, right? I think that that's what we want to do. We're just going to pour this into here and make this a red. I gotta add something to this guy, this pink one. We need something in her. I'm gonna put a few of these little balls in there, just for fun. They'll be little space fillers. Not much, but a little bit. And then I think we'll add, oh, I have enough in here. Oh yeah. But it is sticky. And watch this, I'm gonna get really sticky and gross on my gloves, but I'm gonna do it. Oh yeah, this is the darker because it was, that's right, I forgot. It's kind of good though that alcohol ink got to set up a little bit in there, because it's gonna build more of a surface layer, so it's kind of cool. Okay, that paper cup is done. This is a hot mess because now I'm a hot mess. So let's get another paper towel with some alcohol on it. All right. This is the point where I probably did too much. Had a little too many things going, but that's okay. We're gonna make it work. All right. Very sticky, but we're gonna get it in here. We are definitely not doing worry stones. Crazy me for thinking that, oh, maybe we'll have extra. We might even do a dump pour. Who am I kidding? crazy. She gone crazy. Yep, I have. Oh, there is a big bubble that is forming right there. We gonna have to get that, little guy. You're gonna have to pop. Yeah. Okay, you're gonna be stubborn. I see ya. There you go. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna make you pop one way or another there, bugger. Okay. Let's mix up some more cherry balm. Okay. Oh yeah, very sticky. We are making mica go everywhere. Slow it down. Yep, very warm. I feel ya. We're going right into this mold. Okay. Did y'all see that big old bubble when I first started the pour? Gracious. We're gonna go right into here. I think this cherry balm is just something else. I am going to start the heart over here because I love this color. Oh, we dropped powder. It didn't mix very good because I was in a hurry. Just because our others are pretty full and we've got extra. And I think this will look good if we do the red and then do a black on the back if there's room. If not, it's pretty. Normally, well, that cream kind of turned a funky color. I should have probably sealed that paper better. Yeah, it's gonna be what it be. Is what it is now. It's one thing with resin. Like, you can do a lot with resin. You just got to be patient and also give in to the process. It's going to do what it's going to do. And you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it, is my opinion on that matter. You will either enjoy working with it or it will literally drive you crazy. And if it drives you crazy and you've tried and you've given it your best shot, then I would say maybe resin just ain't for you, and that's okay. I wouldn't stress over it. Resin is not for everybody. And there are times that I thought I would give up. Trust me on this. I know, we gotta get you a little more in there. But I gotta get these. Look at all those bubbles that just popped in that. Like, goodness gracious. Look at that. That's somewhat satisfying. See that? Pop and bubbles. Pop and bubbles. Now, your heat does two things. One is beneficial, one is not beneficial. And it does them both at the same time. So just so you know that. Like, oh, this is getting really goopy. Heat will speed up the curing process, okay? Because it's going to make that chemical reaction on your resin react and start hardening. So that's cool, because I mean, ultimately you want your resin to be hardening. So that's good. However, in a situation where we are right now, the heat is in that process of it reacting is getting really stringy and goopy, which can make it not be so hot and could make a flash cure. If you give too much heat, you could end up flash curing your items, and you don't want that. It's gonna smoke. It's very bad chemical reaction when that happens. Do not suggest it. I have had it. It's not the most pleasant thing to have occur to you. one, you lose your resin project, and which is disappointing in itself because you've used supplies, and two, the chemicals it puts off, the smell it puts off is really bad for us. So not what you want to do whatsoever, okay? The other thing though, heat can do, if you notice, it does move the resin around some. So you can use that to your advantage because it thins it. If you're doing it at the right timing, it's going to thin out that resin and it's going to help get those bubbles popped. I'm hitting these pretty good with that. Now, probably not fully the best I did, just because when you spray the rubbing alcohol or put rubbing alcohol on it, potentially you're messing with that chemical reaction and it may not set up fully. So sometimes your colors may not fully react. I just realized we're probably going to stain these molds. Oh, that's okay. That one looks really cool. Okay. Where's this one? They all do. They all do. But you can see it's pushing that resin around, so it's almost thinning it. And that is really good when we're doing the bluing, because you can really make it do what you want. And I just found that bubble in there, and so I was able to get to it by doing that. So it makes it a little bit more workable when we have it running. But like I said, too much is going to be bad for it. And so it is really good to kind of keep your piece moving and not let it... I thought I turned it up higher and I was like, no, I don't want that. There's just some bubbles I'm seeing in there, so I'm just going to move that resin around to try to get those bubbles. This one I'm not going to move around a ton. It's pretty full. I don't want it to shift. I think that the bubbles that are there are just going to be there. That's just the way it is. These look really pretty though. I'm super excited by them. Yeah, I'm super excited. I hope they come out. I always get nervous at this phase. So this is where resin may not be for you, is if you're going to get overly worked up and want to mess with them more. You have to learn when to stop, like when to hold them, when to fold them, kind of thing. Yeah, that's very much resin. We have to learn that, hey, I've done it. It's really sticky. I just need to leave it now. I don't need to do anything else to it, because the more I start messing with it, the more it's just going to probably make something bad happen. We'll push it too far. But they look really good overall, and I'm super excited about them. I will probably, these could be unmolded in the morning. If you haven't seen, if this is your first time joining me, you don't know, so I'm going to tell you, I typically pour in the evening time, and what I'm doing here now, it's just a OCD thing. Like, you don't have to do this. That resin's going to come off and it's going to be just fine. But there's something about it. It just makes me feel better that it's wiped off. And this has the rubbing alcohol on it. So it's allowing that to come off. Anywho, I pour at ADHD. Distracted. I pour in the evening. And that way I don't mess with it. Because you know what's going to happen? This woman is tired. I'm a working mom, full-time worker at a full-time job. And I have 2 kiddos. I'm a wife. I'm a mom to, let's see, 5 4-legged fur babies. 2 dogs, 3 cats. So yeah, I'm pretty tired usually in the evening. So I will pour in the evening and then I'll go to bed. And then I used to get so anxious that I'd wake up around 2, 3 in the morning and come check things. I don't anymore. Now I'm like, sleep's more important. I can't do anything at that hour anyway. Like, even if something wasn't, I'm just going to go to bed mad if it's not coming out like I want it. So, I just don't do that to myself, right? So then I let them sit overnight. And then the next morning, you can unmold them. These will actually probably sit for a day or so. 24 to 72 hours, depending on when I can get back in the craft space and unmold them and do a tutorial, because I'm a work full-time and mom and all those reasons, right? So that my schedule to unmold is a little unique. I used to unmold literally the next morning, but because I tried to do a tutorial and give y'all, you know, a full look of everything, I don't want to cut you short, and so I want to make sure that you get to see the unmolding. So I really try to plan when I can sit and do a tutorial for it. Okay, so what I am going to do is I am going to move these off to the side so that we can do some cleanup. I'm just going to take this whole table and I'm going to shift it to the side over here. It's still on my work table. It's still on this big silicone mat that I got from Counterculture DIY. You get tired of me saying that, but they are a small business, not sponsored. I do that just because this is my honest review, right? So I'll put it off to the side, and I put one of these like nets for food to keep flies and stuff out. I put one of these over it to ensure that dust and things don't get on them. Then I am going to show you guys my favoriteest part. Ha ha ha. If you've seen my videos before, you know this is my least favorite part, which is the cleanup of all these icky sticky tools, right? Right. Necessary part of our hobby, but one that I don't particularly love. So it's fine. Just getting this over here and covered. I want to make one of these my own, like, size, because it's a little too big for what I need it for, but it's better than the last setup I had. Last thing I used to use was just a clear plastic tote, and I would kind of prop it so that airflow could go underneath it. It was fine. It worked. But I got to a skinnier table, and so it doesn't work as well now. But I love this table much better. Alright. Enough of that. Enough of my rambling. So, my glove is a mess. I tend to grab my bottle while my glove is a mess. It just ends up being what I do. I pour a generous amount of the rubbing alcohol onto my paper towel, and I, as firmly as possible, wipe down the stir stick. And yes, there is rubbing alcohol that's getting into the cup. That's fine. This is going to be just a very first initial wipe out of this cup. So essentially, I'm just going in, and it's 2 fingers and just round and round. The goal is just to get that first layer out. We're going to wipe this several more times. We're going to wipe our stir stick more times. Again, I've got resin on me. It's a mess. The one thing I do not use small amounts of, minimal amounts, is my paper towels and my rubbing alcohol. This one wasn't bad. Pretty easy. I just have a place that I have that sit and dry. Oh, I got that all over, didn't I? This was just using mica, but I touched it with the UV resin. This is a metal stick, so the resin would not come off of that very easily once cured. These silicone ones, in theory, it's going to come off. However, I find it still always leaves some sort of residue kind of on them. So I prefer to take the rubbing alcohol and wipe them down. And you'll notice that I use this one several times because, hey, I'm going to get the most of it, but also there comes a limit that it's pretty full. I'm just trying to get the initial amount off when I'm doing this. And then I did fold it enough times, I think, that I have a pretty clear out, like clean outside of it. So I'm going to just wipe that out again. And then another one. Generous amount. My gloves are getting super sticky. And I just wipe these down several times. They can sit here and dry on the silicone mat because it doesn't hurt them. Like it stained that, or that was already stained. Nope, that's just part of it. Those are pretty good. Oh, I've got another really gross one over here. These haven't been wiped. Again, because it's metal, it's not going to come off of there. This, like I said, the silicone. Now, some people like to take their cups while it still has resin in it and just go upside down and let it cure that way. I scrape my cups so much that that technique has not worked out well for me. It like leaves a residue, so I've just opted to not do it that way. But definitely experiment and determine what is best for you, because see, this was the really gross one. I handled it both ends because I wanted the square end, but I had stirred with this end. When I first started, I experimented. The other thing is I always put B in first because it just makes it easier to stir. B is thinner, A is thicker. And I've done it where I put A in first and then B. I didn't like how it mixed as well. Did my end result, oh, I knew this glove was coming to an end. Did my end result come out fine? Did the pour that I did that day come out fine? Yeah, not an issue because it was fully mixed. I just didn't like how the feel was, and I felt like it took me longer to fully mix it. So I have followed the trend. B first, A second. And I always tell myself opposite of the alphabet. That's how I remember. So these are all pretty well good. This is still a little sticky for sure. Especially the outside because my gloves were really bad. But now it's pretty good. Silicone is the way to go if you want reusable. Paper cups got tossed. Paper towels get tossed. Glove gonna be tossed. That one is definitely done. I could feel it thinning. And I was like, I think it's gonna break. Then for me, the thing that I do is I have some resin remover in here for your hands. I will do just a quick, because I feel like my hands are so, even though I had gloves on, like they just feel sticky and gross. So I will throw a little bit of that on. It's called, very handy, resin remover. Very hard to remember, right? It's on Amazon. I use that, and then I immediately, when I'm done here, meaning as soon as I turn the video off, I go downstairs and I wash my hands really well with soap and water. That's how I do it. To each their own. Figure out, study it, learn your resin provider, you know, read their warnings, read the instructions, understand what you're getting into. I have a filter going the whole time in here. You know, those are the precautions I currently take. But definitely read your guidelines. Please don't go off on me. You need to feel comfortable in what you're doing. But know that you are mixing a chemical. This is a chemical that is being mixed and put together to make these beautiful pieces that we're going to make, right? Alright, enough of my little safety talk. So these will set. Those are clean. They dry. And we'll be back. I hope you guys enjoyed. I know it's a little bit longer of an episode. But obviously you gotta see the start to finish. And resin's not a fast craft. Just saying. Hope you guys are well. Have a good one. Bye.